this is Tony with making a quick video about how I started my lawn care business, and maybe some of these tips will help you to start your lawn care business if you're thinking about it or have thought about it in the past. I'm just going to tell things I did. It may not be really quick, but I hope it is. But anyway, so I guess like the number one biggest thing is, how I very first started is I went on Vistaprint. I made some cards that I got with my. Now pay attention to everything I say, because even things I reference are probably important for you to do yours. I made some cards, but I checked them with my dad, who's very experienced in this and done this for 30 years. So I really think that helped me a lot, because he would know if it looked like cheesy or unprofessional or what. And so I kind of went on there and made one kind of how I like, we kind of made one, and so I kind of stuck with something that was, that he knew would be good, because he has a lot of experience in this. So it'd be good to check on that with someone that had experience if possible, and just start putting them out in your neighborhood. Even if you don't drive, put them out in your neighborhood. Don't put them on the mailbox. I know in my state it is illegal to put them on the mailbox, like on the metal, but sometimes I put them at the end of their driveway on like a fence post, or sometimes the post of the mailbox. Even that's a little risky, but some of the houses where you live, they might be close to the road. You can just stick it in the door, or make flyers or door hangers, thing like that. Get your name out there. That's the number one way to start. Even if you don't have much equipment or anything, you got to start lining up the jobs. You can rent equipment. There's always ways. Some of you probably already have a push mower, or look for one. You can buy one cheap if you on Craigslist, or save up a couple hundred and get a brand new one from Lowe's or Home Depot. That's probably what I would recommend. I would recommend getting one self-propelled, just because it will help you a lot. And then the next thing is when you do finally land your first yard or two, do a great job and be very consistent, and keep doing a good job. I remember I started out one of my first yards and my second yard, both of them. One wasn't take that long, but I really didn't make much money on it, and it was pretty. The price wasn't that great, but I kept with it, and I stick with the other one. I did do okay, but they had me do a million things. Older couple, I was doing just hours of like all kinds of weed pulling and all kinds of things that I really weren't good, and I learned a lot of lessons on both of those and just throughout the years. But I didn't have any other yards at the time, but I stuck with it, and I believe that that the Lord blessed me and helped me move on to more as I was faithful and stayed consistent on the ones I had, and I always done a great job, and for a good price, and people will tell others about you. And when you do get your first few yards, keep building them up until like with the push mower, it's just very hard to even get to all of them. And then what I did is I started looking on Craigslist, and me and my wife drove up, and actually I bought a used walk-behind belt drive. Very simple, basic Toro T-bar, which is probably the better of the belt drive, a little easier to drive. And that was a big turning point for me. And later on down the road, I did have to spend some money on the transmission. That's another thing, guys. When you're looking at something be very careful of, because a lot of stuff is rigged and stuff nowadays. Like if you're looking at it and you just see it and it doesn't sound quite right, or if you see spray paint on it anywhere, that means that's doctored. And I've learned the hard way, and I shared it my exmark, little exmark, in some other videos. But this walk behind I got, it was well used, had a lot of, pretty good amount of hours on it, but it was decently new, and I could tell that it had not been really rigged or messed with. And so it did work out, and later down the road I did have to put some money in the transmission. And this takes time, all this takes time, takes years, but you just, a couple of yards you have, you keep being faithful, you keep being consistent. Your route, once you plan to do that day, like I said in my last video, stick with it. I know there's sometimes ones that I want to get done, it gets dark, and sometimes I don't set my goals like really right for what I really can get done that day. So that's another thing, set them to where you can get done, what you have planned to get done. Because if you do ones that are, not, really doable, then it makes it really difficult, and you can always go past, what you have set out. A day planner like this, that's another, top 1, 2, 3 things that I would need, because everything is organized. You have everyone's number in here, you have your route, you have what you're going to charge them, where they live. That way everything's in one book. It's super easy. You don't have to worry about bringing any computer or anything with you. You don't have to worry about anything glitching. You don't have to worry none of that stuff. One pen, this in my truck, and we go. Alright? And another thing, buying a used trailer, that's a good idea. As you grow your business, you get to walk behind, you're going to need a trailer. You can't just do, push more. Hopefully you have a pickup truck or SUV, either one of those, or even a car. You can start with push more, save up your money, start working your truck, then, But what I'm saying is buying a used trailer is not that bad of an idea, because there's really not much risk in there. Let's say you bought like a small, like I have my enclosed trailer, and I also have I have a 5x10, just your normal little mesh one, wood floor, and those are not too risky. I would pull on the top of the wheel and just make sure the bearings aren't real sloppy. But other than that, even if the lights aren't perfect, whatever, you can get someone to fix that for inexpensive, and there's not a whole lot of risk there. Make sure it's not messed up on the latch where it tightens around the ball. Use that, make sure it closes underneath. Other than that, that's pretty, that's not a bad idea. Line up people, like, if you buy used equipment, which, I'm not against that, but if you do, just keep it in your mind, keep a lookout for someone that you would use if it does break. So, like, you have their contact, you already know it. Even like before it's break, you're running, and if something does break, hey, this is the person I'm going to bring it to. So, in your area, kind of have that in your mind. Okay. Sorry, that the light on my camera is like so bright, so I'm just like looking into it, and then when I look at my notes, I can't. It's really hard to see. I have to kind of, but it's okay. Go above and beyond, what you would have to do. I mean, it's, anyone can just shortcut and leave, and there's plenty of guys run around town with an old pickup truck, and they're just sketchy, and they're not legitimate. They don't have, they're kind of halfway in, and they shortcut things. The next year, they're out, and there's another batch of those in. Trust me, I know, I've done this my whole life. So don't do that. Go above and beyond. Keep your same phone number. I've had it, even at my age, I've had it for about 8 years, and it's really neat, because like the other day, I had a customer I worked for 2 years ago, doing random things, of course, when I was smaller, and they called me back to do some other random things, and it was awesome because I was able to help someone and give them that job. I still had the same number. They just call me, text me, hey Tony, blah, 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 and I was right there. So that's extremely important. Get a number you can keep, even if it's a prepaid phone, whatever you got to do. Do it, keep it. Even when you move on to a better phone, you can keep your number nowadays. That's another thing. Take your evenings, young guys or old guys, this happens through a whole life, while other people are, let's say you have a regular job or you're in school, while other people are out, messing around, doing whatever, Friday night fooling around. You know, Saturday is awesome. You can get a lot done in one day if that's the only day you have to work. Um, there's so much you can do in one day. But I would use, take your Friday night or when you have time, even if it's dark, and get ready. Make sure everything runs. Make sure your blades are decently sharp. Make sure your truck and your mowers have oil in them. Make sure you have gas for them. Make sure you have things tied down properly like you want. Make sure you have your earplugs and your cooler, your water, your gloves if you want them. Just prepare, be ready. You don't want to, especially you have one day, you want to mess up that day just because you didn't take a few minutes and get ready. Night before. Even me now, I use that little enclosed trailer, and so night times, the day before when I start out, I try to be ready. So wake up, eat a little breakfast, and boom, I'm ready. Rent equipment, I already talked about that. Small, slow, 1 yard at a time. I've already basically talked about that, but that's how this thing works, and that's pretty much how it will work. Like so Saturday. Okay. Another thing, like in your truck or car that you have, I don't have a truck that's cool right now. Cool, for my age or what I really like or whatever. But for me, cool is going to come later. For now, I'm building my business. I have a truck that looks just like a company truck, and that's what you want. Something white, just plain, two-wheel drive. So when at least when I'm there, it looks like I'm professional. I know what I'm doing. I see these guys all around my town. They have some kind of a little bit lifted truck, or it's a weird color, or whatever, and it looks kind of cool. It looks kind of cool by itself, but then they have a sketchy little trailer and a mower behind it, and then all of a sudden, now, it just looks terrible. It doesn't look professional. And when you pull up, that's a huge thing. Okay, this leads into another thing. Your image is huge.